So good afternoon. Today is Wednesday. I will come back to talk around 20 hours. And of course, there are a number of issues. I mean, there is an issue of Vakambwili's response, the ongoing issues, Yawa PF, and of course the issue of Edgar Lungu. Now, you see, some of you think that I just support things anyhow. I don't support things anyhow. What does not make sense, I call out on that issue. I don't just support things anyhow. For example, this issue about DEC. Issue about DEC taide panga sense mwevantu taide panga sense nangupa no. It is not making sense. It is not making sense at all. And I can support Fidia. Now, I can't support that nonsense. That is nonsense, and it is a pity that the DEC, you are behaving in this manner when there is that impasse in South Africa. I think at this point, we don't need to escalate issues from either sides. At this point in time, especially from the government point of view, they should be handling things very cautiously. Not yama reds mule panga ya mukachaso. Yama reds ya mukachaso yani. Ma reds ya mukachaso. Ma red tavide panga na sense. Ero maisa panga na mistake. I mean, first of all, just the way you went there. Kwa hula permit, without ama lawyers had to be called. They are coming in, they are asking for permits, you are not giving them the permits, and then as if that is not enough, you seize things, you take property without giving an inventory of what you got, giving them seizure notices, and later on you come and issue a statement. And I've seen some people are trying to challenge me, trying to disagree with me, to say blah, 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 blah. No, DEC is investigating, it doesn't matter, what case, whatever, nanguma wire, because those are not vehicles that should not be gracing, that should be gracing our headlines. No, those are not vehicles really. No, I mean, Mawaya, Corolla, Cresta. Who drives a Cresta this time? Who drives a Cresta? Now, Feniva Capocola, Fenweva Deki, Muneshapo Cresta, Corolla, Imwe. Are those the kind of vehicles that you'll be talking about to say whatever? Anyway, that aside, look at the statement that they issued. Because Mweva Leland that no, they are investigating whatever. Fine. The issue is, let us look at the statement. What did they say in their own statement? Now, this statement is there. It's online. You can go Pariba Deki website and you will find it. Just check it here. Let me bring it up for you. So that yo shani whatever. Therefore chibomba therefore fibombe fintu lekani milango iri beside and can statement ya wait here, you see, here is their statement. So because some of you are saying no, they are supposed to investigate, okay, fine, they are supposed to investigate. So what are they investigating? Look at their statement. Okay, look at their statement. They say DEC uncovers abandoned house and vehicles in Lusaka's Libala stage 4. Imwe, first of all, to start with, I mean, how can DEC say they uncovers an abandoned house? They uncovers an abandoned house, a secured home, yabani abandoned house. And then listen to the statements. Arising from reports received from concerned members of the public suggesting that there was an abandoned house with abandoned motor vehicles in Lusaka Libala stage 4 area. yesterday, Monday, 16th March 2026, the Drug Enforcement Commission undertook a verification exercise aimed at establishing the true ownership of the said property. Just there, just there, an abandoned house with vehicles there. I mean, uyo ine wa ile mkuta report that the house is abandoned. Since when do abandoned property, a house where tamulia abantu palifintu, since when does it become an interest of Vadek? Since when does it bother anyone? How many houses do we have in Lusaka and in many areas whereby there is no one who is staying there? Where I used to stay there in Roma, the next house for years has not been occupied, and there is no one who bothers about it to say no. An abandoned house, how can a house be abandoned? How can a house be abandoned? And if you look at the pictures, that is not an abandoned house. There are people there. There are people guarding the house. There are people guarding the house. Those are the people who called the lawyers to say, Kwaisa Wantukun. So how do you say it's an abandoned house? So, to start with, just there, once we learn that no, a DEC is investigating whatever. First of all, it shows, from this statement, it shows that DEC had no substantive issue to go and break into that house. They didn't have a real case. They didn't have, if you look at DEC mandate, they didn't have. The closest people that would have gone there, at least in Luakapokola, not Vadeki. Not Vadeki. How Vadeki? How? How did Vadeki come in? No, you are going to report to Vadeki. How? Panganda tapalia wantu, atiyo panganda patapalia wantu. Wa mungu chita report kuli Vadeki. File panga sense imwe. File panga sense, nangu kusapota, tiyo turesapota, nifuwa wa pressing. Efo ninga support efyo ini. Wete tin support efyo nakana mwinzangule chipuwa. Nakana sana. And then later on, look at the statement. If you go back to the statement, if you go back to the statement, this is statement, look again. You see, it is saying, upon arriving at the named property, which was later established to be house number 12 along Libala Street, officers discovered then Ibatampo Kulanda Nombati at abandoned, 6 abandoned. How can you say 6 abandoned? 6 abandoned vehicles. Imyotoka ishiri mu property, secured property. Imu mambo kobate abandoned. And then look at these vehicles. Ama vehicles, imyotoka shiri apa. Even me, I can't drive any of these vehicles. I can't drive any of these vehicles. But more interestingly is the statement Pesambapa at Shani, on the other hand, assertion circulating through some media platforms indicating that the said property belongs to the late former president of the Republic of Zambia, His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu, are unfounded. I mean, are unfounded. If you are saying are unfounded, then who are the owners of this house? If they are unfounded, then who are the owners of this house? If this story to say this house belongs to Kuriwa Edgar Lungu, then who is the owner of the house? Basically, I mean, for me, why I'm not agreeing, if there is a substantive matter to say this is what they are investigating, trust me, I will back you up by deck. But here, tapari umulandu. So file moneka foko batika tisho fo murefu wa idisha pali ba lungu. Ero tafile moneka wino. You see, because not kwata kwe issue ya ku South Africa. Ero na mambo kula chitifi. So abantu abale na people who are onlookers and the public will start saying to say what's going on. You'll be justifying this impasse. You'll be justifying the nonsense of this Malukula, you are falling into the ditch whereby now, but I think there is something here. Why are they doing this? So whoever sanctioned that, he was very careless. Whoever sanctioned, because you must have discussed it and you agreed to send Naturea. What you did is very wrong at this point in time. And you are actually damaging, our case, because our case is that, look, whatever you have been saying about this man is neither here nor there. The man is gone. The man is gone. Let's just bury him and we move on. Now, you will be justifying those who are saying, our government, you will be justifying. So that action was really very bad. And instead of issuing such statements, you should have been issuing a statement to apologize, to say, we were misled. Because it doesn't make sense for you to say the vehicles were abandoned. Muyadi. Na bantopo bali ronda. Kulia kuna nkane kulibala kulia kwa libaba kabwa lala sana. Kwa libaba kabwa lala sana. If at all those vehicles were not secured, aba ichenga bali toloka ngabali funyama ama nikane ama wheel finch ngabali sokola. Chila chiye yako nchile moneka pada ngabali sokola. Panganda pada ngumarosha panganda ija wako pati chiye yako nchila ngabali sokola. Oro mamwe bacha abandoned. If you are so ine na weteti ine tefo mbomba nishisumini chef ya ulokulondoloka, but tolalanda pa 20 hours. In the meantime kanje kuchechinje pepeko chungulo kunokale na mwishiba bwala ila nokwi. So apa ndifo anje kuchechi, and then tolalanda ko pa 20 hours. For the meantime, I just wanted to make this statement, this thing clear. Because DEC is investigating, Finch is investigating. Abandoned house. Who is someone